Hello one and all, Jasper here, and ever since the train wreck of Season 2 of Hot D came out, I've seen some discussion online that has piqued my interest slightly. It won't surprise any of you that I was not a fan of the second season. After all, I feel as though I was much more critical and disappointed of the first season than most others, and the second season being objectively worse, my dislike of the series naturally only grew. Yet, it's not my most hated piece of media. That is still held by the 8th season of Game of Thrones. Has there been objectively worse things to come out before and after? Yes, but my bias is too strong for me to overlook, and so it will remain as the worst thing ever created by mankind. So imagine my surprise when I started seeing posts and discussions saying that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the creators of the worst thing ever, would do a better job of handling the writing for Hot D. Now my gut reaction was a resounding, "No you brain-dead hillbilly retard." As bad as Hot D got, and boy did it get bad, it never reached the depths of watching Season 8. Even moments that are comparable in quality to Season 8, like Rhaenyra sneaking into King's Landing to chit-chat. Since we never had a consistent amount of high points, this isn't that bad of a fall. This is comparing jumping off a 1-story building to a 30-story building. Yet, the more I thought about it, the more my opinion began to shift and change. You see, we humans tend to have a bad habit of inflating specific aspects of others, especially famous people we never meet in person. Yesterday's angel will be tomorrow's devil to some or many people. So let me take a deep breath, sit down, and watch Game of Thrones again. Fuck. Those first 4 seasons are good, like really good. And now, is that enough to convince me that D&D would have done better? Well, it's complicated. Credit where credit is due, D&D are great adapters. And not just when adapting events in the books, but expanding on side characters. I know some people might argue on what characters are improved in the show compared to the books, but for me, Tywin, Oberyn, Alistair Thorne, and Robert Baratheon all come off as more interesting and deep characters compared to their book counterparts. And that isn't even talking about original scenes that are never in the books, but feel like they could be. Robert and Cersei drinking and chatting about their failed marriage, Jorah Mormont standing in the way of Viserys from running off with the dragon eggs. People still quote chaos is a ladder. Catelyn has a great scene talking about how she wished Jon was dead. Okay, that sounds bad, but it's good, trust me. Hell, sometimes they make drastic changes from the source and it works out really well. I know Tywin making Arya his cupbearer is a bit out there, but the scenes we get between the two of them are so good I'm willing to overlook it. But let's not pretend it's all sunshine and rainbows. They have dropped the ball a few times, even before they ran out of books to adapt. Tyrion is probably the most whitewashed character in the entire franchise, still likable and entertaining, but a downgrade in my eyes. Jon Snow, despite losing his sense of humor and brooding more, also loses the bit of dark edge he has in the books. Dany is translated well enough, but in the show they parade her mistakes and naivety as good qualities rather than the books, which show her actions as short-sighted. Don't worry, it gets worse though. The Sand Snakes and Euron will go down in my eyes as the worst adapted characters in the entire franchise. The only other character that might come close is Alicent from Hot D, and I know these characters are all from after season 4, but they are still characters that were being adapted from the books. They count. But if you think that's cheating, let's all recall Stannis and Renly. Unlike their older brother, they are both pale imitations of what the books give us. These are all things, however, that can be leveled at Hot D as well, including the praises. I know it's very popular to hate Ryan and Sarah, but let's not forget, they do deserve credit for Viserys Targaryen, a massive improvement from his book counterpart, and he isn't the only one. Otto, Hugh, and all of the Strongs, I think, are more interesting compared to the books. Now granted, improving on characters from Fire and Blood is much easier than Game of Thrones. After all, Game of Thrones, we have chapters for a single person's perspective, who have been around for all of the books that have been published. By comparison, Fire and Blood is a single book with 24 chapters, and only 8 of those are about the dance. For comparison, Game of Thrones has 73 chapters, and will probably take you an extra 7 hours to finish. Expanding on skin-deep characters is not exactly difficult, and if you fuck it up, you can come off as even more egregious, like with Alicent and Rhaenyra. I feel like I've been rambling now, but my point is, it's much easier to make an adaptation of Game of Thrones good compared to Fire and Blood. So with all that laid out, do I think that D&D would be better than RNS? It's a crapshoot, but hindsight being 2020, I would give them a second chance. If they are worse, then it's not like we lose much in my eyes. But if they did better, then we could have had the second coming of the franchise that it needs. Personally though, I think you need to find a small-time writer who respects and enjoys the books to handle this, because clearly that isn't what we have now. Hopefully, Hedge Knight will be what we're asking for. With that said, I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down below. And until next time, be safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.